Hello, and welcome to PremiumBytes, where we shine a light on the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. I am Sudhar Krishnamachari, one of your co-hosts, and with Samir Ahmed, our other co-host, we're here to have meaningful conversations about the evolving technology landscape inside the insurance industry. Let's acknowledge it. Being an insurance firm CIO or Chief Information Officer is one of the toughest leadership roles in today's world. You've got a risk-averse mindset baked into the very fabric of the industry, a legacy estate that must complement the modern tech, and a talent crisis from both the retiring side and next-gen recruiting side. And then you got the slower pace of innovation. We see it because we're right there in the trenches with you as consultants day in and day out. Our mission is to deep dive, have conversations that carry substance, offer practical insights, and help you validate and navigate the relevant challenges of being an effective CIO in the insurance sector. So thank you for joining us on this adventure. Let's jump right into our next conversation.
Hey, good afternoon, Samir.
Hey, Sudhar, how are you?
Doing well. Well, it's good to be back on the second episode.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to next chat with you about our insurance leaders' challenges.
Yeah. But of course, before we start the next episode, I just want to take a moment to thank all our subscribers and listeners for supporting us. It's been a good first episode, some positive, and of course some critical feedback from the first episode. The concept and the title sounded like it's exciting, and it sounds like people would want to definitely hear more on this idea of the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. But on the a bit more critical feedback side of it, it sounds like folks feel like maybe the length of the episode can be shortened. Since it's just the first one, we're going to kind of roll with it, and we'll keep gathering these feedback. And as we get more and more feedback, we will continue to refine on it. But thank you. Anything you want to add, Samir?
Yeah, just thank you to everybody that's been listening and encouraging us. Same thing as you. I've had some emails, a few messages, phone calls even. Everybody liked the concept, liked the idea, and then asked that when are we covering some of the topics that came up in our last conversation?
That's right.
And secondly, try to keep it shorter, which of course is good to know, but creates the challenge that how does one have an in-depth conversation on a topic, give it its due, and yet keep it short and succinct. So the challenge is in front of us, and we got to find a way to deliver.
That's right. I think it's an ocean, right? And so I'm thrilled that we picked a topic like insurance, which we acknowledge is such a broad topic, but still it's worth staying at that level, because then we have the entire ocean to swim wherever we want to swim. So we're kind of excited about that opportunity to pick the topics that covers the breadth and depth of the world of insurance. So with that, I'm curious for you to introduce the topic for today. I have a point of view on this, but I'll let you lead us.
Yeah. Look, no shortage of topics to cover.
That's right.
And just a reminder for everybody, our intention is to, take a breadth first kind of approach here, cover a variety of topics, still each one at some degree of detail. But as we uncover more depths in them in our conversations, we'll park them to come back to in future conversations. But today, look, I think almost any insurance leader will tell us that they are at some stage of modernization. So let's talk about the enduring complexity of modernization and core modernization in particular, just to have a little bit more focus on what we discussed today.
Yeah. I like the way you described it as the enduring complexity, right? So maybe we'll peel the onion right at the top.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can start with modernization, right? Why focus on core modernization? Um, and the thought process was that every conversation that happens around modernization uh, is no, I shouldn't say every, but most conversations are without really defining what aspect of modernization is being discussed.
Yeah,
And when that happens, participants in the conversation each come to it with their own perspective, and not that there any one of them is right or wrong, uh, but when you have conversation from different perspectives, inevitably there is some overlap in those perspectives, which is great, and then there's some unique aspects. In those
and
unique
when you say
aspects,
participants, I'm kind of double clicking on that. So just to add
yeah,
more clarity, when you say participant, you're at a broad level. You'd be like, hey, when you ask a business person what modernization is, they're going to have a view on what that is. When you ask an IT person, and then when you ask an application person inside IT versus an infrastructure person in IT, they all have a different view, isn't it?
that's exactly right, and they're all valid, right? Because they all have a role to play in modernization, and they all have to
Right.
ensure that their parts are taken care of. So they each come to it from their perspectives. There's a decent amount of overlap in them, but there's also unique aspects, and some of those unique aspects are compatible with each other, but then others are not compatible, and therein starts to be the beginnings of potentially unmet expectations when you get towards the end of that journey, because no one agreed upon what kind of modernization we're discussing and embarking upon. Everybody generates their own expectations. Some of them are fulfilled, others are unmet. And another way to describe unmet expectations is disappointment. Uh, that's probably the very first layer of this, right? Why are we focusing on core modernization? So, not to discount other aspects, but just to focus our conversation, we figured let's talk about core capabilities,
Right.
and we'll teeter totter a little bit between capabilities and technology, but
Sure.
since we are here to talk about tech challenges, it's probably going to be tilted a little bit towards the
Right.
technology modernization.
And I guess you're highlighting this need for making sure that modernization is when whoever is taking it up, and most of what we know of the market today is everybody's somewhat in the middle of this, right? So there's not a whole lot that have said that, oh no, we haven't done anything, right? So everybody's in the middle of a journey. But what we're also recognizing is that in many of these journeys, there's this, oh, we modernized technology, but we didn't change the way we operate or change the way we do the business. And so we wanted to take a step back and say modernization is a much more broader for a term and a undertaking than just a tech modernization. Um, with that said, I want to maybe appeal the second part of it is it an enduring complexity around modernization that is unique to insurance from your vantage point?
Well, yeah, this one is a little sort of tough to simply unpack because it has multiple facets to it. But let's just methodically go through them. So, are there aspects that are unique to insurance? Probably. There are some sectors where technology modernization is straightforward, and then there's other sectors where it's difficult. Insurance is by no means
Hmm.
unique, right? I think there's other sectors where these complexities show up, and I think what's common in when this is complex is a regulation, b um, presence of or focus on information management at the very core of the business,
Right.
and C, I would say, is aspects that have been present from many decades ago. So the earliest adopters of technology, airlines, financial services organizations, insurance companies. These were one of the very first
To adopt.
types of companies that adopted technology. So they have the
That's right.
longest legacy to deal with.
Yeah.
In
The
terms of
hearsay is
is
that
this
IBM
complexity?
sold their first mainframe or first assembler code to an insurance company.
Yeah, I believe it. We can even kind of fact check it ourselves afterwards, but I would not be surprised if that is in
Right.
fact the case. Oh no, what I was saying was right there. So is this complexity enduring? And this is where I think it's a matter of perspective a little bit. The arc of modernization, just in technology in general, is that well, it's going to keep evolving.
Hmm.
What is modern today is not going to be modern in a few years. So one has to keep modernizing, and as one continually modernizes, the complexity keeps shifting at a minimum, if not increasing. Because every time you take a modernization step, it's in the context of more accumulation. Right? You have a legacy of 20 years when you do it the first time. Well, then the next time you do it, you have a legacy of 30 years. And the next time you do it, you have a legacy of 40 years. And of course, there's some things one can do, steps one can take to simplify along the way. And we'll talk more on that. But that's another aspect of where the complexity comes from.
Sure. Sure. And I just to add on to that, as they become a legacy, there's complexities from not just from the technology itself, but the surrounding enablement. Like you don't have enough people who are motivated and available to work on this, and the cost of maintaining this just by virtue of infrastructure, licensing costs, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the other side, you have a business that wants to change, but then we're not able to adopt and change, and creating bottleneck and innovation agility, and so it's all like becomes a multi-tentacled gnarly problem in some sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the complexities are in the form of processes. The complexity is the form of enabling technology. The complexity is in the form of skill set of individuals, both on the technology side as well as on the processing side. The complexity is in what's in the market, what the market is demanding, what kind of products are being offered, what kind of capability is being built on top of the tech. So, absolutely, these are facets that each in its own right has a complexity to it.
Yeah. It, the mind in my mind, the way to approach this complexity, I'm trying to think like, okay, take an old system and replace it with a new system, is what an average consultant or an average industry person would think about it. But I think it's actually much more nuanced than that. Uh, uh, so I want to peel the onion on that aspect and say, okay, no, it's not like, oh, take an old system and just put a new system, and then you're completely now gotten rid of legacy and modernized. But again, our audience is living and breathing this complexity every day, and we're doing it too with them. And so I want to take a moment to recognize that unsung and highlight that unsung part of their life, is that it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, for sure. It may seem simple at the first blush when one says, "Well, okay, we'll modernize." Modernize means replace the old with something new. Uh, Anybody that's renovated, their living space kind of can relate
Good
to
point.
some of the challenges with this. There's a renovation of the kind where you're still living and your life is disrupted, yet you endure that. And then there's a renovation of a kind where you have to move out, raise parts of the construction, do new construction, and it's not livable in that time period. So anyhow, yes, I think at a superficial level it may sound simple, but it never has been so far. And therein, right, lies some of the resistance to actually embark on this.
Mm,
There's we talk to our clients and peers in the industry. Uh, Folks are at different stages of modernization, and some will take this point of view that, look, I've got technology. Sure, it's old technology, but I've taken care of it. It's humming along. Business is running. Uh, I do not have actually a business challenge in a true sense. I have desires, but I don't have a challenge. And in that context, I'm looking at okay, I can do a tech modernization to bring our tech up to current era. It comes with a 5, 10, 15, $20 million price tag, and
right.
it's going to take me 12, 18, 24 months to do. And I will not have sold a single additional policy because of this. It's just modernizing my tech. So where's the benefit in this? Right? It's not evident.
No, that's a
In
classic. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I'm hoping that a lot of people who are listening will just nod their end and say, this is where they're kind of stuck in a dead end, not able to go backward nor forward.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, they know that this is kind of like a ticking time bomb, if you will. Not that it's truly a bomb and it will explode, but there's a finite shelf life to technology. At some point, it will just be so old that it will not work, and something must be done before that. Anybody's guess how long that runway is, but that is on the other end that gnaws on people's now they have it in the back of their minds. So some companies take this approach of incremental modernization, and in small chunks keep taking an aspect, modernize it, take another aspect, modernize it. It brings its own kind of complexity. In some ways it's going to be more complex, uh, but it is a lower risk pathway for sure. And as risk management professionals in insurance, sometimes it's the case of the cobbler's kids with no shoes, where we don't recognize this and embark on a modernization project that, hey, we'll replace the technology. Our core system partners tell us that, yeah, it can be done in a year. You'll be off the old and on to the new, and everything will be hunky dory. And as we
Never
know,
works
it never
as
works out that
promised.
way. Yeah, and not
Yeah.
for to anyone's fault, right? It's just the nature of this.
No, that's exactly right. I think it's better to reset expectations that it's just complex, it's enduring, right?
Yeah. So look,
Um,
what should one do? This is like obvious things. Everybody knows these, and we're at some level validating that. We talk with a variety of folks, and no matter your sector of insurance, right? Life and annuities, PNC, personal, commercial, small commercial, large commercial. This aspect is cutting across all sectors and common for everybody.
I think, the way I think about it, and let's feed off of each other on this one, is what should one do is of course, depends on where they are in their journey, right? When we engage in these conversations, we always take the time to probe and understand, is this the start of a journey, or is it the middle of a journey, or a much more, advanced stage of a journey? And every stage brings its own newer sets of, missed expectations or newer problems or newer challenges. So it's important to understand that. But there's also this dimension of has there been a cohesive strategy and a vision and a broader view of what kind of business model we want to be in, how do we want to serve the market, what products we want to be in the market with, and how do we design our business operating model and capabilities, and has that work been done before we look at a tech strategy or tech modernization? That's how we probe when we go in, and then obviously understand where they are, and then kind of marry the current state with a framework like that.
Yeah, I would point out that there is no cookbook for this. What you need is good cooks. All right.
I like that.
And not to take the analogy too far, but fundamentally, right? Every environment has got aspects that are unique to it. There's aspects that are common across. And to the extent that there's common aspects, one should take common approaches, but then cater to the differences by tailoring approaches. So I would, prompt folks to think about two dimensions here. Dimension number one is that if I go back to, we touched on this earlier, the arc of technology is that it's going to continue to evolve, and it forces organizations to be in this routine of modernizing every few years. The companies and tech leaders that have recognized this and shifted their thinking to, what, we are better off getting away from these once a decade large scale efforts to modernize from something that is, 10 years old to something that's current. Instead, let's rejig our organization to become capable of continually modernizing little bit at a time. And that keeps us moving in the right direction. We never have this large accumulation of legacy that has to be modernized or retired, and we stay up to date with times. So this is one dimension. The second dimension is that everybody talks in software development space, right? Everybody talks about how agile approach to software development and system implementation reduces risk and maximizes the ability to adapt to changing context and requirements.
Correct.
So this idea of, again, incremental modernization gels very well with that kind of approach.
Idea of agility and agile transformation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that tech leaders that have recognized this and have taken this approach, they're set up to outshine their peers. It is very typical in the industry for companies to go through these once a decade modernizations. It is not as typical to be.
So I guess what you're alluding to is a related thread around it's technology modernization, but it's also the modernization or the change and adoption of newer practices of thinking about technology and delivering technology related business capabilities around agile and agility and things of that nature.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, we can take this thread a little bit further. That no one wants tech modernization as an end. Uh, I don't think there's anybody in an insurance organization that comes to modernization with that idea. Everybody
Yeah.
comes to it with, we are doing this because we want XYZ capability. The
Yeah.
difference comes in where some organizations will say we must be relentlessly focused on what is the capability we're trying to adopt and implement that capability. If it means along the way modernize the tech, well, let's do that. But the tech modernization by itself is not a effort. It's not a focus. It's always the end result. There's the other end of that spectrum where people will come at it from the perspective of, look, you want to have, let's say, faster rollout of new products or rate changes. We can do that if we first, as a pre-step, modernize our technology. And it will take us X amount of time, but once we've spent that time and modernized our tech, it will by itself raise our level of capability, and then we will be set up to give you those outcomes that you're asking. So it's a two-step type of approach.
Sure.
Neither is right or wrong. In some contexts, one works better. In the other context, other approach works better. And of course, it's a spectrum, so you can fall at various points here. But I would, come back to the earlier point that if you want to minimize risk, and here, what is risk? Risk is that the project keeps running and running and running, and the end is
And
elusive.
at worst, at worst, or maybe at best, but at worst, delivers only the technical sophistication, but doesn't offer the business capabilities to your point. Sell more, sell new products, sell them faster, and sell them cheaper, and sell them in newer channels, etc.
Yeah, and in those 12, 18, 24 months, the business context has changed, and what we wanted to do 2 years ago, now we don't want to do. We want to do something different. So the risk management, right, approach of ruthlessly, relentlessly focus on the outcome that you're trying to deliver, let that be the North Star. And to the extent you should modernize the tech to deliver that outcome, do it. And if something else is coming in your way, make note of it, park it, come back to it when its turn comes.
And I want to take a moment to recognize that this is not just us sharing the ideal view of what it would look like, and that it is an insurmountable challenge. Actually, Samir, I know you're involved in this multi-year modernization with one of our largest clients, where methodically, somewhat of what we are saying and kind of highlighting here has been practiced, where business capabilities and technology capabilities were progressively delivered, where as an organization, the CEO is recognizing that we are a better organization and running a better business and at a higher margin and better growth. Is that not the case, that we're able to do this as long as we all work together to ensure that, we think about it and execute it in a disciplined way?
Yeah, it's absolutely approaches that are tried and tested. And it's not to say it's the only approach or it's the quote unquote right approach. Again, I will go back to the point that every approach has to be contextualized to the organization. Yes, there are successful, implementations or projects where organizations have done, let's do the tech modernization first, and then we're better positioned to deliver business outcomes and enhanced capabilities. It is usually the smaller organizations, small portfolio of insurance products, small books of business, smaller geographies, let's say. The broader any of these dimensions is, maybe it's multi-line PNC, or maybe it's PNC and life that one carrier is offering, or it's a nationwide presence versus regional or single state, or um, catering to a small segment of the market versus a large segment. So the broader any of these dimensions is, the more complex it gets, and the more complex it gets, these kinds of approaches are become more and more relevant and
Relevant, right?
helpful.
Yeah. No, thanks for emphasizing that. If I can take this thread in one slightly different angle real quick, and then we'll come right back in to the main course. It, one of the things that I think we are seeing in the way we as a company operate is this whole idea of a hybrid team model, which seems to be effective. And I wonder if many of our audiences, especially the senior leaders who are making decisions about going through the journey or even structuring their existing journey in one way or the other, I don't know if they give it some thought around this idea of hybrid. What I mean by hybrid model is a combination of multiple partners, each with their own set of strategic capabilities, forming a cohesive team to run the transformation program and deliver. So I want to spend a minute on perhaps highlighting and shining a light on that model where we've seen some good success.
Yeah. So, like we briefly touched on, modernization has many facets to it, right? You modernize your technology from years past to something more current. Well, paired with that, you need the staff that A, can do that modernization, and B, can maintain systems with the newer technology. So staff and skills have to be modernized. You have to upskill and level up, right? Um, One approach is okay, I have a team that knows the current tech. They don't know the new tech. Okay, well, let's outsource, hire out, bring in contractors that have that skill, and they'll do the modernization for us. They'll take us from where we are to where we want to be at the next stage. Um, and once that's done, or as we're approaching that being done, we'll get our staff to train and upskill, and they'll be positioned to take on the run and maintenance as things go. And yes, there may be some turnover along the way because perhaps some are not set up for upskilling, or they don't want to, and there'll be some turnover because of that as well. So that's a model that is pretty common. That's why in our industry we have lots of system integrators that come in and just take on these replacement projects, and they've done it many times, and they're tuned towards running this like a assembly line.
Clockwork in a factory, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the like you were pointing out, right? The risk point in that is, number one, your organization does not learn how the new technology is set up, why decisions were made, when inevitably you have to decide, am I going to architect this way or that way? Am I going to design this component this way or that way? Am I going to implement this integration this way or that way? The organization never is participating in this process. Therefore, they never develop an understanding of the process of making these decisions, and ultimately what was the rationale for the specific decision was made. So this is this knowledge is just completely lost. It's never memorialized in the organization. And as much as people say we'll document it and we'll do knowledge transfer, right? This is not stuff that can be absorbed just by reading a document. It's even hard to put down in a document, and then
Exactly.
let alone somebody consuming it and understanding it. So that's one aspect. Second aspect, right, is that this promise of we'll do training and upskilling of the workforce, and they'll be able to take over. It just doesn't pan out as well as one imagines it will. A simple reason for that, right? If you're anything like me, you pick up a book, you read it. That's one level of understanding. You then take some lessons from that book and you try to implement them. It creates a second level of understanding, and then you try to explain it to somebody else. That it requires even a higher degree of understanding. It forces it, right? So until we're forced, we intellectually just kid ourselves into, yeah, I know, I went through the training, I passed the test, I got the certification, so I'm good. It doesn't pan out that way for these reasons. So, alternative approach that we've had a lot of success with, and our clients have found it to be very helpful, is to build these hybrid teams where outside parties are playing a role, but the end group of individuals that is going to take this over uh, participates from day one, uh, pursue this in the apprenticeship model, learn by doing alongside people that have done it before, let them be your guide, so that by the time you get close to being implementation ready, they have participated in the process, they know the reasons why decisions were made, they learn how to make similar decisions themselves, and they've had practice with the new technology, building real capabilities that are used by people every day in their business. So we've had a lot of success with it, and our clients have found that to be helpful. Yes, it sometimes takes a little bit longer to get to the end, because no, it's not. Everybody knows exactly what to do from day one. There's a learning curve involved, but at the
But you
other
emerge
end,
as a stronger organization at the end, right?
that's exactly it. On the other side, you emerge as much better situated to continue uh, the maintenance and
The other way I think about it, Samir, is that in most IT organizations and even business organizations and insurance companies, or I guess generally companies, is that they are very, very good at running their business and maintaining their business and operating their business as it exists. And they are very, very deep and they're very nuanced in that. But the moment when it has to be about change, transformation, modifying, and then completely thinking about different things, it's just that those muscles are not exercised for them, right? So having a set of partners help them along that kind of a pivoting to a new path or a new place, and going through that journey for a shorter period of time, and then at the end you leave them much more stronger and capable and knowledgeable and able. Then they go back to the next point of maturity and run that business for as long as they can until the next pivot comes.
yeah, yeah. And just one further aspect of this, which sometimes folks are hesitant, right, to take on this kind of approach. They see and hear timeline will be longer, and they translate it into, well, longer means it will cost
More
more.
cost. And that's
That's
not true.
right. And that is not true, because what ends up happening is that your staff is trained along the way, and you can in fact pare down the need for external help uh, quick quicker, I should say, and your own team can implement swaths of the capability and the modernization without the presence of a large group of experts from the outside. So when you do that, the total cost, in fact, comes down. So lower risk, lower cost, time takes a little bit longer, and I would argue that if you really measure the quality of the result, sure, you got there faster, but then you had a whole bunch of issues to fix. And by the time you fix those issues, you now have spent more time than had you tried an alternative approach. And again,
That's right.
this is not to say that these other approaches don't work. They can work. They come with their own profile of risk and issues and challenges.
Right.
I will just maybe say one more thing on this point,
Sure.
that my intention, right, in sharing some of this is that look, one can always look to what does everybody else that is in similar situation like me doing, and there's some safety in the crowd, right? Uh, at the same time, I should expect that my results are also going to be the
Same.
typical results that that crowd gets. If as a leader I aspire to have a result or an impact that goes above and beyond what is typical, I want to be in the top 10 percentile of results. Then I would offer that those folks should think about some of these alternative approaches, because the typical approach will get you only the typical
And
result.
we are going to make a point about calling this as our next generation CIOs, as I like to call it, is this visionary leaders that want to not just do and deliver what the market is doing and what is typical, but also want to create a unique path for their organization to take them to the next level. So, we're very empathetic to serving that audience and embracing their mindset in the way we think about and we share.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole, but I want to ask a 30-second question because I have a feeling some of our audiences might have this thought in there, and maybe we will peel this as a separate onion in a different podcast in the future. Is many modern platforms, whether it's policy or claims or billing or whatnot, seem to profess this idea that, well, with our systems, there's no more business depending on IT. There's all no code, low code, and business is completely empowered to run and change their business all on the fly. What's your short and quick 30-second take on, is that a reality or a hype?
Look, there's a place for everything, and there's a use for everything. And when you use things and tools for their intended purpose in their place, you get good results. When you try to go beyond that, it doesn't work out so well. Yes, low code and no code platforms that give rapid development capabilities are a thing, and they have a place and can enable capabilities quickly. The kinds of capabilities that is appropriate for is prototyping, rapid deployment, technology that you don't know how long it's going to last in the organization, so you don't want to invest a whole lot of good solid engineering into it. But when it comes to core capabilities, right, these tools and technologies are not geared towards that. You have to rely on engineers doing engineering to get well-engineered solutions. Nothing against people that are not engineers, but would you ever expect an artist to come and do construction because you can design you're an artist, you're creative, you can come up with a building design, and here's all this prefab material that you can quickly assemble a building. Even though it's possible, and even though some folks will have success with it, vast majority have the creative mind, do not have the engineering mind, and will fall into the typical pitfalls of not having engineered things well.
That's right. That's right. I know. I really think that's a fascinating topic, and it keeps coming back anytime we talk about tech modernization and your platform. So we'll peel that onion at another time. But in the interest of time, I'm thinking like maybe we'll just kind of hit on the 3 or 4 major things that we touched on. I'll kind of like maybe try to summarize what we hit, and then obviously feed off of me as well, Samir. The reasons for or punting on the modernization or taking on this arduous journey, they're kind of the reasons are all the same, and it may be that for an organization one may be relevant for another organization that might be the burning platform for them to take that modernization journey. But despite this what I call is this unsung nature of the work, we are seeing a lot of trailblazer CIOs or the next gen CIOs taking this arduous journey. And I like to summarize it as, it's something that requires really vision, patience, collaboration, and commitment. And we chose those 4 words at the risk that they very, very simply in 4 words, unfairly contextualize the details that underlie the complex work. But nevertheless, that's what we see in these journey. To Samir's point, we also see that it's not a one-time exercise, and that it's a perpetual appetite and a desire and set of capabilities to innovate in a cyclical manner. And then last is it's not just about the technology, but it's also the broader, talent, culture, agile practices, and partnerships and partnership models that are critical and decisive in making this enduring complexity and enduring success.
Yeah, and we didn't quite touch on it. It wasn't the focus here, and perhaps in a future conversation we come back to it. But for your last point, bringing the people along has to be the primary focus and driver after focus on outcomes. Technology should just be relegated to its role of enablement. It should not become the primary motivator or the primary focus.
And that's the hard part for many CIOs to execute on is, now they're taking the role of a transformation leader as opposed to a, information officer or a technology officer, right?
Yeah.
So, this is a great discussion. I'm sure there'll be more to it. Anything else you want to add, Samir, before we wrap?
I would ask folks, please, share your thoughts. Where do you agree with us? Where do you disagree with us? Where are we not thinking of some aspect that is critically important? I'd love to hear that and continue the conversation.
Yeah, like I said, I think in one of the posts that I did last week, I said, no experts here, just peers in the industry, living and breathing on the trenches of this unsung world. So just sharing some perspectives and looking forward to hearing from you all.
And that's a wrap for today's conversation on PremiumBytes, where we shine a light on the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. Thank you for joining us on this adventure and being part of our community. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and follow us. Until next time, take care.